Okay, a hearty good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to all of those that have joined us. On behalf of Tim Bajarin, Chairman of Creative Strategies based in Silicon Valley, and myself, Barton Goldenberg, President of ISM based in Bethesda, Maryland, a suburb of Washington, D.C. A hearty welcome to today's webinar titled VR and AR Case Studies in CRM Applications. I want to set the stage for today's webinar and the significance that both virtual reality and augmented reality, and now what's called mixed reality or XR, are playing in the current business environment and where that's likely to head over the next decade. Because it's referred to now as the most disruptive technologies for the next decade, and for reasons that will become apparently clear if it's not already. This is something that we all have an obligation as businessmen and women to focus on, lock in on, and have a clear strategy and implementation plan for it, because it will significantly impact how we deal with customers in terms of engagement and how they feel in terms of experience with us. The spending on AR, VR is exemplary of this growth, tenfold over the next decade. Think about that, tenfold from 12 billion, which is no small number, in 2020 to 1.5 trillion in 2030. These are significant lifts. And whereas AR, VR, and XR applications include multiple disciplines, we're going to focus on sales, marketing, and customer service in this webinar, although Tim and I are delighted to talk with anybody that would be interested about how these AR, XR, VR are being applied also in terms of training and education, as well as what's referred to as field service and remote collaboration. And if you have questions about any of those, we can talk in the question and answer session. So that's kind of setting the stage. In a more formal way, my name is Barton Goldenberg. I'm delighted to be here, 36-year veteran in the CRM industry, author of multiple books, columnist on a regular basis, and having worked in the field with clients around the globe during those 36 years, deeply honored to work with many honorable clients that you would know, brand names, and they're just wonderful companies that we have an opportunity to try new ideas, including AR, VR with, and again, happy to share those stories with you. I'm going to turn it over to Tim for a minute, and Tim's going to introduce himself.
Welcome to our webinar, and thank you, Barton. I'm the founder of Creative Strategies, Inc. We're a technology consulting firm, and I've been doing this since 1981. I've had the privilege of working with most of the major tech companies who created the PC and IT industries. And I had a lot of opportunities to put my crystal ball hat on over the years. And I predicted the desktop publishing trends, helped multiple companies create their mobile roadmaps, and am currently working with major PC companies on VR, XR, and AR strategies for IT. So on the next slide, I want to point out that if you're going to tweet today, this is the tweet to go to is hashtag ISM AR VR webinar. And we'd love to have you comment and give feedback. Next. What I'm going to talk about, and what Barton and I are really talking about today, is VR and XR in the enterprise. One of the things that's kind of not clear to a lot of people is because VR, XR, and AR, and I'll explain the definition of these in a minute, VR especially has been focused mostly right now on the gaming industry. And you'll see a tremendous amount of work that's been done for gaming. And more recently, some of the VR headsets are also being used to bring in movies and things of that nature. But it's been more of an entertainment vehicle. And yet, as you'll see from the case studies we introduced today, there is an immense amount of work where AR, VR, and XR are being applied to the enterprise. And then today we're going to give you some case studies and show you how this is being deployed right now. And this is really quite an important shift. The thinking right now is that AR and VR and XR and the technologies here for these virtual worlds are really future, way in the future, but they're not. When you look at the case studies we'll present today, you'll see that these are actually being used today in training, field service, sales, marketing, customer service. And that's a really big thing to understand. And one thing that I think is clear, and we understand this now from our research and the work we've been doing in this particular place, is that this actually, the addition of VR, XR, and AR to a company's overall operations and services is a way to get ahead of your customers. There's no doubt in my mind that almost every major industry is going to adopt VR, XR, and AR sometime in the next 10 years. But those who are doing it now are going to have a lead on their competitors, and will actually help drive, I think, the mentality within your customers to be able to use these kind of technologies in the future. So next slide, I'm going to just clarify one important thing, because VR, XR, and AR are becoming immersive technologies that are actually having a major impact on CRM, and that'll be evident in the various case studies. Next. Now, here's one important slide in that there are three actual terms when we talk about VR, XR, and AR. And I want to be clear because each one is somewhat distinct. VR is where you're doing the VR goggles, Oculus. A lot of the ones where you're basically putting on goggles, and the metaverse, or what you're seeing, is encompassed in the goggles itself. You can't see through those goggles. All of the worlds that are created are being brought into the VR metasphere that's right in front of you. The term XR has just evolved in the last couple of months to a year to describe what we would call a mixture of VR and AR, in that you may have a set of goggles, but you can actually see through them into the real world. And in that case, the XR content might be looking at your outside building, let's say, and seeing superimposed information on it, but then also having a virtual vision of it where you could switch back to that gives you even more data in a virtual metaverse. And then the last one is AR, augmented reality. And that one is, in our mind, is important today. And you'll see a couple of examples, even in sales and marketing. But AR, I think, is going to have its biggest impact on the consumer markets in the next 10 years. We believe Apple, with their AR goggles or glasses that we hope to come out, and we think we'll see them in the next 2 to 3 years, will be more like real glasses. You know, I don't think the traditional consumer is going to walk around with these big goggles on their heads. Rather, they're going to have and want to have glasses where the augmented reality content can be brought in front of you as you're walking around, or you're looking, or even driving, to get information of your environment and things that you need data on. But they are being used even today in applications, and we'll show you one specifically from Ikea where that is being used to, they're using actually iPads and iPhones to deliver a superimposed information, or in this case, going into a blank room and showing you some of their furniture options. Now, having said that, when you understand VR, XR, and AR, that in the enterprise world, it encompasses these different little spokes: field service, training, manufacturing, sales, and marketing. And as Barton said, that we're not going to emphasize a lot because of time today on field service and training, although training is turning out to be one of the biggest applications where VR is being employed right now. And field service is being used with XR, where they're actually having the kind of glasses, and right now they're actually more like goggles. A HoloLens from Microsoft, for example, would fit into that category, where a guy might be on a telephone pole and looking at the actual lines that he has to work on, but at the same time having the information both from the manuals, let's say, in in a VR-like mindset, and then he can have a superimposed image of the components he has to fix on the HoloLens cover. But again, those, if you've ever seen Microsoft's HoloLens, those are goggles, not glasses, which I think is going to be the emphasis for AR. Next. Now, Barton and I and our teams together have worked together to create what is an online resource center. And the actual link to that center is ismguide.com VR Resource Center. And that is live today. Now, it is a work in progress, but there's over 100 case studies already there that you could go and take a look at in all of the various categories that we've suggested. And I suggested after this particular webinar that you move over to or go to that particular site, take a look at it, and you'll see that it covers pretty much a lot of varied industries in each of those categories: customer service, field service, training, etc. But I want you to have and be aware of this particular piece. This is a free service that we have that we're building up, and I mentioned that it's still a bit of a work in progress, but there's over 100 case studies there, and our teams are building bringing in more and more case studies every week, so that library of case studies will just expand over time. And it's a great tool for both at the educational level, but also if you, for example, are either in leadership of your company or being asked to do something, to look into this as a part of potential future for your company, this is a good resource for that. Next slide.
Thank you, Tim. I have a question before I move on to my section here. First, I'm very happy to be, you've clarified VR, XR, AR, because these are really changing over time. And so thank you for that wonderful insight. Why do we call it an immersive technology? I'd just be interested.
Well, the immersive part has more to do with the VR world. If you have used a Oculus headset, which is the biggest consumer version of a VR headset today, and you can get one for between $300 and $500 now, and it's quite an experience. You are actually immersed in the experience, right? So, for example, if you were playing a casino game, if you are in the casino. If you are walking in a nature preserve, you are as if you were walking in a nature preserve. One of the great examples in the immersive side comes from the travel industry. And I'm a scuba diver, and I've loved over the years to go and actually we've done this in Hawaii and the Bahamas, but you know, we swim with the turtles. And there's these apps from National Geographic and others where if you didn't know better, you would feel like you were swimming with the turtles. So those immersive experiences, and again, they're travel and consumer at the moment, but those immersive experiences are really important in certain categories, especially gaming and some of the consumer apps. Now, having said that, when we'll go through the various case studies today, you'll see examples of where VR is actually being used in an immersive sense. And bottom line is, the technology is robust enough at VR, XR, and AR to actually start delivering real value to any of the enterprises who are looking at trying to get especially a competitive edge going into the future.
This is great. Thank you so much for making that clarification. Okay, so one thing I forgot to say is there's a question box at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We're delighted to take questions along the way. We're delighted to take questions at the end. Tim and I are buddies for, I think, more than 30 years now. So we know each other well, and we are very confident in what we, our materials and what we do. But we're delighted, absolutely delighted to take questions or whatever you'd like to do during today. So please use the question box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Okay, well now, folks, it's time to go to the movies. Now, on the East Coast, it's only 1:15 in the afternoon. But I did go across the street to my local Trader Joe's, and I bought my popcorn. And Tim already mentioned the Oculus glasses. Now, I can't quite put those on today because those are VR and I can't see through, but I'm getting in the mood here and I've got my hand controls, so I'm going to be able to kind of beam up as I need to. So if you're ready, let's all go to the movies. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a bunch of case studies, each of which has its own particular emphasis. And I'll stop, kind of at each video and just make an observation. So we're going to first go to retail sales examples, and we're going to go to 3 of them. And the first one I'm going to do is Warby Parker. They're a manufacturer of eyewear. For those that may know it, it's a wonderful company. It's out of my alma mater, the Wharton Business School. It's an entrepreneur that is a very wealthy gentleman today. And he did all this with a new way of doing glasses. And you're going to see how he's built AR right into the actual offering of his product.
I love this Warby Parker virtual try-on app.
This looks so realistic.
This is so fun that you can try on the glasses.
Like they're actually on me.
It's like I actually have them on my face.
I love this.
Okay, that's Warby Parker. Let's go to another AR application. Tim mentioned it. That's the Ikea application. And in this video, you're going to see how Ikea has integrated their what they call Ikea Place. You'll see why it's called Place in a minute, directly into their overall furniture offering to make sure that a customer is buying the right furniture, the right size, the right design, the right functionality. And you'll see how it works. It's a tremendous way to not only invite people into Ikea, but to actually help them buy Ikea furniture. So let's go to the videotape.
Hey, IKEA would like everyone to know about Place, our new augmented reality app. Built on Apple's new AR kit, you can easily place true to scale 3D models of IKEA furniture in your place. Scan, browse, select, move, and place. So that could mean less of this. And less of this. And probably more of this. We want to make it easier for people everywhere to imagine a better place. Share this place. And this place. Try place in your place.
Yeah. Okay, so how impactful is AR on the retail space? And Tim kind of alluded to this earlier, but I just want to read a few of the figures because it's incredibly impressive. 40% of buyers would be willing to pay more for a product if they could experience it through augmented reality. Next number, even higher, 61% of shoppers would prefer to shop at stores that actually offer augmented reality over ones that don't offer it. And now for the biggest number, 71% of shoppers would shop at a retail more often if that retailer offered augmented reality. So on the sales side, on the retail side, there's tremendous ways we can use augmented reality of building it into the product as a part of the overall sales offering. Okay, let's look at beyond retail, and I want to take a minute and just look at the financial industry because their AR, VR, XR are also being heavily used. I don't have any videos per se, but I'm just going to walk through some of the examples of how some of the bigger companies globally are using these technologies. So in Citibank, they've got an AR app that allows financial traders to make financial decisions by visualizing real-time financial data, including stock index funds. In the case of Fidelity, the Fidelity Labs piece of their business, their VR app allows customers to manage stock portfolios through a simple and safe manner. I've used it and I can tell you it's a lot of fun, easy to do, and it works. Capital One went on a VR way with using their Auto Navigator app. And what that does, it takes the whole pain of buying a car out, really eases that whole pain. You can visit a car dealership or point to any car on the street and get a price and other financial information about that car at any particular dealership they work with. And BNP Paribas, which is the European bank, they have a real estate VR app that allows a potential property investor to meet with the broker and to take a virtual tour of any property anywhere in the world. So there's in the finance industry. Tim already alluded to the travel industry. And here, there's many, many examples of it, but I took one from Virgin Holidays, so let's go to the videotape. Okay, so we've seen how AR and some VR so far have been used in the consumer industry in both retail, finance, and travel. And again, it's on the sales side, and they're building these technologies into their overall product offering as a way either to help sell more or to, to keep that customer engaged and having a great experience. I want to leave the B2C and go into the B2B for just a moment. And I want to look at some business to business. And I want to look at something that I find fascinating. This is a product from Microsoft. It's called Microsoft Layout. And in this next video, it's for any company selling into the manufacturing sector. You're going to see how a manufacturer can integrate AR directly into their product offering. And in the case of the video, you'll see a large piece of industrial machinery to help them sell their product. So this is an example of where a customer might be buying a big piece of equipment, has, I don't know, 3 offers on the table. And here's a way you can use AR in the sales process to differentiate your products from those of the competition.
With HoloLens, you can work with high-quality 3D holograms integrated into your space. With Microsoft Layout, you have the tools you need to design and review in context and find new solutions that give you confidence before you commit. Transform your layout in moments with precision and speed.
So how cool is that? Did you see how he took his finger and measured 2 feet or whatever it was and moved this machinery? What a wonderful way to differentiate your sales offering from that of the competition. Okay, I'm going to go into the next video. This is showing how Johnson & Johnson, in their particular case, the virtual learning, has integrated VR into their surgical product offering to help ensure that their products are purchased and used optimally through effective training. So this is a bit of a how do they help sell their surgical products through effective AR training of those products to various people around the world.
I'm the head of education here at Johnson & Johnson Institute, and our responsibility is to train surgeons all around the world. Today, we have a real problem that on a global basis, there's not enough access to safe healthcare because we don't have enough surgeons trained. VR tools like Oculus can help us solve this global crisis. And it's critical that we have partners like Oculus to create that wonderful platform where we can then deliver our virtual reality content to anybody, anywhere, and at any time.
So another great example of how they're building the AR, in this case VR, into their product, overall product offering as a part of the sales pitch, where they're selling the product, but say, listen, we're going to train you effectively on the product. That's a part of what we offer. I want to purposely leave the sales side of it, and I'm going to move into the marketing side now. And in particular, I'm going to give you a couple of examples. Now, these are all a little bit challenging. Is it sales? Is it marketing? Is a little bit of each. But here's 2 companies. We're going to look at Lockheed Martin and Airbus in France, how they're using, in this case, mixed reality, XR, as a way of helping them to market and influence the potential buyer. So with that, let's go to our next case. This is Lockheed Martin. And I want you to keep your ears open to one particular thing that Shelley Peterson, and you'll learn who Shelley Peterson is. She's a principal investigator of mixed reality and AR within Lockheed Martin. How's that for a title? I want you to pay particular attention to what she says towards the end of the video.
So imagine you're crawling inside a spacecraft and you're trying to do the work. The last thing you need is to have to carry paper or tablets or laptops into the environment. Being able to have data readily available without having to hold on to anything is significant. I'm Shelley Peterson. My role is Principal Investigator for Augmented and Mixed Reality at Lockheed Martin. We work with Orion, which is NASA's spacecraft that will take astronauts out to the moon and even into deeper space, such as Mars. On the Orion spacecraft, there's 57,000 fasteners. And normally the technicians would have to measure to know where to place those fasteners. With mixed reality, they put on the device, they see the digital version of the fastener hovering over the surface, they know exactly where to place it. When we do this, we save about 90% of the touch labor. We take an 8-hour activity of marking locations, and they finish it in 45 minutes. Or an 8-shift activity they can complete in 6 hours. It also reduces the potential for errors because the instruction is just so clear when they see it overlaid on the structure in front of them. Over the last 2+ years that we've used the HoloLens on the shop floor, we haven't had one error, and that's significant. It's just pretty powerful. It takes what we think of as a laptop or computing to the next level. Feels like magic.
How cool is that? So let's go across the pond over to France, to Airbus, who, as you know, is a big Boeing competitor. I thought we'd make this an international day for everybody. And we're going to look at now in the Airbus video on the marketing side, how Airbus is using and integrating XR into their marketing of airplanes, helicopters, military planes, and launch vehicles.
Airbus is a company designing, manufacturing, and servicing commercial aircraft, helicopters, military aircraft, satellites, and launch vehicles. Well, for the coming years, our challenges are huge. We have, in the last 4 years, delivered 10,000 aircraft, and we have to deliver twice that amount in the next 20 years. To face this challenge, we intend to make an intense use of mixed reality, and that's why we've started partnering with Microsoft. Mixed reality can help us to increase quality, safety, and security. By having the right information in front of the eyes, the level of human error is significantly reduced. In aerospace, an increased quality is an increased safety. I think the maturity of the services like Azure Remote Rendering of special anchors is key to give us a guarantee that we can adequately use the HoloLens 2. And it's key to have the right data flow. It's key to have the right rendering. It's key that the person using it finds himself or herself in the right environment with the right quality of data and therefore quality of visualization. So it's absolutely essential. The advantage of the HoloLens 2 in the design process is mostly in the validation phase, when the designer needs to know whether his or her design is really fit for industrialization. And this is hugely accelerated by 80%. On the manufacturing side, we use HoloLens 2 to enable the workers to achieve complex tasks or tasks that require an intense reading of documentation, while finally they're hands-free and they can access complex areas, they can handle heavy parts while having all the information they need right in front of their eyes. So we strongly believe that mixed reality can bring improvements up to 30% of some of our industrial tasks.
We have looked at how AR, VR, XR are finding their ways into sales through the stories of Warby Parker, Ikea. We looked at some of the financial companies, Citibank and others. We looked at how Virgin Holidays is using it. We just looked at how Lockheed Martin and Airbus are building in mixed reality, also called XR, into their overall marketing services, or the way they market their products. I want to switch now to the third component of a good CRM system: sales, marketing, customer service. I want to switch to the customer service side. And in this next video, you'll see how a company is providing customer service, in this case on the factory floor, to one of its customers. But I want you to extrapolate and think how your company could use this particular, it's actually a VR application to support your customer service efforts in multiple ways. So this is a video to kind of get you thinking.
This is a new vision for work. Now employees can work smarter and bring in the people they need with just a tap. They can troubleshoot, repair, and perform with confidence and speed. They can move freely, pull critical information into view, and stay focused on the task. Their hands free to do the work. This is collaborative problem solving at full speed. Your people, united across time and distance, more connected, more informed, and more efficient. Now employees can work together from anywhere. They can go there without being there. This isn't the future. This is here and now.
So as Tim alluded to earlier on, this isn't the future. This is here now, and it really is. Because if you look at the current impact of AR, and particularly VR and even XR on customer service, it's in the process of revolutionizing both customer service and other parts of what might be called post-sales support. So for those of you that are in the customer service side of your company or creating the strategy for that, imagine having tools that can decrease a technician's dispatch using AR remote assistance by 17%. It's huge amounts of money. ExxonMobil is a customer of ours. I want to tell you how much they spend, hundreds of millions in technician dispatch. But imagine 17% of that as they use AR remote assist. Or more importantly, for those that work in call centers or contact centers, as they're more commonly referred to, if you can get so first call resolution means that somebody calls in and you resolve it the first time. And that's a very effective metric that's used in all contact centers to see how quickly you can solve it, because it costs a lot of money to follow up afterwards and getting people involved. If you can solve it right there, it's very good for business. So a 20% lift increase in first call resolution with AR remote assist, that's amazing figures. I mean, those are not little amounts of growth. Those are impressive amounts of growth. So we have shown you so far by going to the movies, both sales applications, marketing applications, and some customer service, a particular customer service application, and the impact that these can have on the marketplace. I'd now like to move to getting towards the close by making a few observations, and then we're going to open it up to question and answer. And also, Tim and I will have some closing comments. So one of the things I opened the webinar with was that virtual reality and augmented reality, and now we can add XR as well, are and this is the key word, the most disruptive technologies for the next decade. The most disruptive technologies for the next decade. This is a paradigm shift. It's a paradigm shift, like as we went from large computers to mini computers to PCs to our wonderful cell phones, and we went into video, this is the next big paradigm shift of companies using XR, AR, VR as a way to drive successful customer strategy, to engage the customer and help the customer experience better with that particular company. As a 36-year veteran in the CRM industry, in particular, as a leader in creating and implementing customer strategies for the types of companies I showed you earlier, I have to tell you, I'm actually very excited, incredibly excited about the potential of XR and VR and AR as we move forward. And I would, again, for reasons that I'll mention in just a moment, I would strongly encourage anybody that isn't thinking along these lines, you got to jump on the bus here. You got to ride this wave. But let me make a couple of observations. Why is VR, AR, and XR, why is it poised to grow tenfold over the next 9 years, by 2030? And I'll give you some reasons that I think are important, but I have some other ones I'm going to share after this. So in the area of sales and marketing and customer service, which is the CRM piece that Tim talks about, I think there are 4 key drivers that will keep us on track for really this incredible growth that we're talking about. First of all, it makes it easy for customers to do business with your company. And given the pandemic that we've all been through or are going through, nothing is more important than easy to do business with. It's kind of a metric that a lot of companies are using now as they bring out their surveys. How easy was it to do business with us? Because customers really expect and appreciate being easy to do business with. And think about, your favorite site that you go to, Amazon or whatever it may be, how easy it is to do business with that company. Also look at how AR and VR are helping to create the memorable experiences that digital customers have come to expect. And here we have to kind of bring it down to the what might be the millennials, the Gen Zs, and even others that have, they only grew up with the technology in their hands. And so this is a complete expectation. And if you're not offering the experience that they are, desirous of, as Tim alluded to earlier on, if you're not gaining that competitive advantage today, and your competition is, as far as I'm concerned, you're doomed for failure as you move forward. It also raises the bar on digital transformation. So, we talk about digitally transforming sales or marketing or customer service, but AR, VR, and XR takes it to an entirely new level, a new way of doing business, a new way of engaging with customers, a new way of delivering outstanding experience. And again, it's going to, as Tim alluded to, pervade every single industry over the next 9 years. What an exciting time to be in the business world. And last but not least, I would argue it's driving both new sales, that is sales to new customers and more sales to existing customers, and lowering customer support costs, all of which play a critical role in the boardrooms as they look at what type of investments to make. But the one I asked you to listen to is Shelley Peterson. And I don't know if you remember what she said, but this is the one I want to lock in on. She said it's pretty powerful. It takes what we think as a laptop or computing to the next level. It feels like magic. And that's what this is all about. It feels like magic. It's all a part of how you do business. Tim can tell you better because he was a dear friend of Bill Gates. But, Bill Gates always felt it was important, or is still a good friend of Bill Gates, how important it was for computing to reach the masses. Or as he worked with Steve Jobs, again, a personal friend of Steve's, how Steve had the same vision, that it would feel like magic, and it wasn't the technology that interfered with the way you did business, but rather it helped you do business the way you wanted to.
Hey, Barton, let me just interject one other key piece here. And again, if you look at the history of personal computing, we think that VR, AR, and XR is the evolution of the user interface. I go back to the mini computer area where we used input terminals, right? And it was all text. Then you got to the early days of PCs and it was text. Steve came to us and gave us the graphical user interface. And then he expanded it with the iPhone to include touch. But now with XR, VR, and AR, we're bringing the whole concept of gestures and pointing and pushing and pulling. And it's a whole new way to interact with data and objects. And that's why this becomes really important. This is why we are so convinced that this is a major inflection point towards the next direction of technology.
Thank you, Tim. And again, Tim and I have said we've been friends for a lot of years. When we started to look into this together and we started to build this partnership, we are so excited, and the companies that we're working with are so forward thinking. It's a wonderful area to be in. All right, let me make a couple of closing comments. For those that are interested to learn more about VR and XR and AR, Tim and I are prolific writers, public speakers, columnists. We've been around for a long time. And I encourage you to read one of the articles that I wrote on VR, AR as a game changer for sales and marketing, that I think was in CRM magazine. Tim wrote a wonderful column recently on how VR and AR can impact field service. I'm quite sure he wrote that for his Forbes column, where he laid out a tremendously strong value proposition on how you can impact field service using VR and AR. But Tim already alluded to, and I'd like to come back to it, the resource center that we have created, in the process of creating, and as he said, it's a work in progress. But I want to take you there for a minute, because I want to show you what we've been able to bring together for you, for those that are interested to learn more. And so what we've done is we've gathered, as Tim said, it's more than 100 cases now, and it'll allow you to go by either a horizontal, so sales, marketing, customer service, or field service, or training, and look at case studies. They're actual case studies. We do an abstract of the case study, and then we blow it up into the full article. I'll show you one in a minute. Or you can come in by vertical industry, so manufacturing, retail, healthcare, telecom, publishing, service, etc. All those are different ways of doing it. And as you click into the actual case studies, what you're going to see is you get to a point where you have different stories about actual case studies. We call them use cases, and there's just lots and lots and lots and lots of them. Okay, but we also have towards the bottom of these, we have articles that Tim and I have written. I mean, there's all these cases. Articles Tim and I have written, videos that we've come across. It's a real resource center. And if you dig into any of them, I alluded to Warby Parker earlier on today. So what happens is you can talk about the Warby Parker and what they've done, but you can then read the full story behind the actual case. So you get multiple layers of detail. I'd also argue that, I'm going to come out of this for a minute, that the way we work with customers, Tim and I, and we've been around, again, both of us for more than 3 decades, is we don't work with all customers. We really don't. We're very choosy and very picky to work with what we consider partnerships. And Tim has some outrageous partnerships for 10, 20, 30 years with the biggest manufacturers of technology in the world. And, you know, we have customers for 20, 30 years that simply rely on us. It's a wonderful partnership where they're looking to us for new ideas to keep them one step ahead of the competition. So what Tim and I have done is we've put together about four or five different offerings to help people kind of find their way into this VR, XR, AR area. We do an executive briefing. It's a couple of hours. It's typically meant for the board level of executives or, you know, a very senior executive team, just to kind of demystify XR, VR, and AR. And during that briefing, not only does Tim go into the capabilities of what it can do, but I also then come in and look at specific case studies in their industry, how competition is using it and what others are doing about it. So it's a very nice way. 2 to 4 hours is the typical briefing for people to better understand and to see kind of the art of the possible. Tim and I, at the heart of what we're doing, though, is creating the strategy for a VR and AR and XR strategy for companies. So we develop the strategy and we implement it. And a little bit later on, we'll talk about how we do the implementation. But we're using partners, and if you know us, you've seen it. That's Lenovo, that's Vuzix, and others that we are in partnership with for the implementation side. We do the project management, but they do some of the technical implementation. We also are very pleased to help you create a pilot for your XR, VR, or AR engagement. We'll help you create the actual pilot. We'll help you manage and drive success of the pilot through the implementation, a full-scale implementation of that particular XR, AR, VR program. We also offer advisory services, and that's really to help you manage your VR and XR and AR roadmap. So in the strategy development offering, we'll create the roadmap, but in the advisory services, we'll monitor it and work with you to make sure that you got it right, or make adjustments, and as you do your sprints or whatever you do, that you're getting it right. And lastly, for those that may be in AR, XR, VR already, we can come in, as we often do, and do what's called a health check, and we'll assess how well you've done your implementation of XR, VR, AR, and make recommendations and observations. And I will say I'm deeply honored to work with Tim. He's top-notch, best in class. He really knows what he's doing, and his network behind him is outrageous, both in the Valley and globally. And Tim knows we're working with customers, for some of the best customers in the world for years. So it's a nice match, and we really love to partner with limited number of companies, but really go deep and do a great job. Let me close by making a couple of comments, and then we can open it to question and answer. To continue the dialogue, here's some details, and this is being recorded, so you can look at the recording afterwards if you want to take it slower. But call me, any way you can get to us. There's lots of different ways to get to us so we can continue the dialogue. That's ISM. And on the creative strategy side, Tim, there's some information about Tim, and that's a good way to get to Tim and a lot of his colleagues, both within creative strategy and in the industry.